Janelle John Bates is with us this morning after she decided that she needed a break from Sean and I.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's understandable.
I'm just kidding.
Keaton wears thin onions.
He's actually not kidding. You should see how red he turns when the show is finished. Anyway, let's get into the second topic now. And this is something that we actually spoke about yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And we're extending that conversation this morning. And that is the role of a parent-teachers association in any school and how crucial it is as part of any education system or that was a tongue twister, any education institution. Janelle, one of the points that one of the callers raised, I thought it was an excellent point, and that's precisely why we've expanded on this topic, is that an active PTA also leads to a better schooling system, regardless of the institution.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with the caller wholeheartedly. An active PTA, there's only so much the teachers, the principal, and the administration of a school can do, especially given all the limitations we have in the education system, especially financially. So one of the more obvious ways that a PTA is helpful is that they organize initiatives that raise funds and also just provide some extracurricular activities for children to engage in, because the schooling is not only about mathematics. What is arithmetic, language, and whatever the phrase was?
Everything was arithmetic. Everything used to be arithmetic.
Yeah, well, now it's arithmetic.
Right. So they assist by providing those sort of extracurricular activities, and they assist with the fundraising. That is very important. And they also support the value system of the school. Students need to see that what they're being taught at home is resonated in the school, and then it goes back home. They see that continuity and the values between what is said at home and what is said in the school, and an active PTA reinforces that as well.
Yes, because one of the things that was mentioned yesterday is the ethics and the certain standards that a PTA would, if they become more involved, it's also easier to probably thrash out issues.
Yes.
For example, a video was circulating of a schoolboy brandishing a cutlass.
Oh, yeah.
All right? But one of the things that was being suggested by the mother is that he never took the cutlass to school. The cutlass was behind a blackboard. Right?
Right.
So, and I'm just confused. I'm like, is it that your son is telling you that? Is it that what is taking place within the school system where somebody can even walk into the school with a cutlass to begin with?
And why did he then decide to take it onto himself to take it off out the blackboard?
So then the other aspect of it is that even if you have an active PT, if you have some parents that are just always completely defensive, and don't get me wrong, I know that parents would always want to think that their children are doing well and are doing good, and your parents will always look out for you.
Yes.
But if it is that you have parents who, to a certain extent, I don't want to say don't care, but could care less, because I'll just defend my child no matter what. They're never wrong. It doesn't make sense even having a PT, does it?
But I want to say, sometimes, so I was having a conversation I have a friend who actually teaches in a school in a hotspot. And I was asking her, because all the parent-teacher, and it's not only parent-teacher, also parent support groups, minus the teachers, that I am affiliated with or know of are in the denominational schools, I'll put it that way. She's working in a government school. And she pointed out to me that the reality is, it's not necessarily that the parents don't care, These parents often work in menial jobs that take them into different hours of the day and night, 4 and 5 o'clock. They can't take time off because they would lose pay to come to the meetings and be more active. And also, for example, where her school is located, it's a hot spot. And borders are a very serious thing. So you may have a child in a school in an area that is outside of your border, and they actually cannot come to the meetings. And then if we have the teachers aspect, the teachers don't want to stay back beyond a certain hour, again, because of safety issues. So sometimes the inactivity of the PTA is beyond whether the parents or the teachers care.
So then what you're saying or what you're suggesting to me is that because we failed so much as it relates to national security, that in some instances it leads to an inactive PT. I'm not saying it's entirely the reason.
I'm not saying that because we fail so much. I'm saying because of national security issues that we all can't ignore, it does impact other areas of life.
Forgive me, I don't want to get too far away from the topic, but it's a very good point that you've raised. But you're saying that we can't ignore it. We do ignore it. Otherwise, we would have at least tried to resolve these issues about borders by now. We live in Trinidad and Tobago. It's a small island. To have borders, that's ironic, right?
No, but
Hear this. We have open maritime borders, But in TNT, we have all these confined boundaries because of gang activity, and people can't enter.
So what you're saying is we need to employ the gangs to secure the borders because they do a better job than the Coast Guard.
I am not saying either.
No, not you. I'm saying, Keaton, that's what you're saying. No, but that's a joke. That's a joke. But on a more serious party discussion, oh boy, I hope I don't get in trouble for that one. The thing is, though, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Because I would argue it's not just a national security breakdown. I just said before you joined us that the commissioner, she kind of entrapped herself in a bad way because not all of crime, the responsibility is 100% on the police.
No, it's
and
not.
The police is not going to have 100% of the cure. So to me, I think the education system and it's the areas where it's lacking and that contribution to crime, right, is probably underestimated by most people in the country. So now which comes first? It's a chicken and the egg scenario. The crime because of people who not have any opportunity and not have any correct guidance leading to situations like in the school, or the school finding itself in the situation, but I think it's more or less self-perpetuating at this point.
I think it's a self-perpetuating. At this point, I don't even know if it matters which came first, because it's here. And we need to shore up the education system, our criminal justice system. It all needs work to have active PTAs, to have safer neighborhoods.
Now, to a certain extent, we also may be. I'm not in no way trying to ignore what you've said. I think it's a very valuable point, and it just goes to show how influential crime and criminal activity has had on every single practice or every single institution. But beyond that, in some instances, are we making excuses? Because I can tell you immediately that working in the media is a full-time job. But one of the individuals who works here, she's a mother of two. And even though it's a full-time job, she still makes the time. For example, this school has now started facilitating virtual PTA meetings.
Which is so sometimes we do make excuses. Sometimes we will find a way, we will prioritize what is important to us. So yes, sometimes there are parents who just don't make the effort. But then some parents may not even know, like, how can they get involved? So I think there's also a matter of more PR, because I was listening to the media
yes.
personnel from the QRC PTA,
yes.
and she was saying it's about actually going up to parents and saying, hi, I am whoever, you are whoever. This is how you could get involved. So there are so many reasons why a PTA may not be active. Different schools have different reasons why it's not working or may not be working as well, or why it's working excellently in some schools versus others.
One of the things, though, that I think there is something with regards to, look, not all jobs will allow you to have the capacity to do it. With regards to timing, it's, and then also with regards to the transportation time, in part because, and this is where things like ease of doing business, and I'm not just talking about the bureaucracy now, all of the little things like infrastructure and logistics of the country.
A chain reaction.
Right? It all has an impact, and losing that productivity also means that, hey, now I don't have the capacity, I don't have a large enough window where I could duck out because it'll take too long, and I'm not productive enough because of all of these other reasons. So it's like a set of building blocks. One could say it's a house of cards, but it's not as easy to solve. It's not as easy to kind of remove. And I do feel for the fact that, look, there will be some people who it really doesn't matter. Then there's also the people who have to like work multiple jobs.
Sorry, they work what?
Work multiple jobs.
Yes, they do have to work multiple jobs.
So in this current economy. So all of these things, it's just the worse things get, the easier it is to get even worse beyond the current point.
Let me ask your opinion, Janelle. I think that here in TNT, we've made it easy for people to complain, right? We've made it easy. Simple things somehow turn out to be difficult tasks.
Okay.
If we've made it easy for people to complain, is it easy to resolve the issues that we've expressed this morning on this platform, facing here in TNT, for example? Why do we have so many crime hotspots? Why are there so many borders? That is even affecting the operations of a PT and even the school on a daily basis, right? So is it that we've made it easier for people to complain and face difficulty, or are we actually making headway in finding solutions?
I think some headway is being made. As I am an optimist, as we are discussing, as it relates to crime. I do think some headway is being made. It may not be as fast as we'd want, and there's some areas that are not as efficient as others. But I think there are other things we could address. For example,
I will challenge you to give me an example. The reason is simply being, it's not that I'm trying to put you on the spot. It's just that being an optimist, I understand it. Because every day when I wake up, I try to be optimistic as well. I try to look at everything from a positive standpoint. I do. But what is an example of us actually resolving something here, you know? I mean, yes, we are being an optimist, but at the same time, sometimes we have to be realistic, you know? So I'm just wondering if we've also made it difficult. As much as we made it easy for people to complain, we've also made it difficult to resolve these issues.
But putting crime aside, which is, we know that is a heavyweight, we know that is a difficult issue. We have also addressed other issues that may affect a PTA, and you have even given a solution, virtual PTA meetings.
Although then it comes to the question of, you know, do they have internet, do they have devices? Same thing like with the pandemic and virtual classes.
I would hope after the pandemic, that would have been a major push for most people in this country to find or have access to a device. Even if it's not your personal device, you can have access to a device that you can use, for example, for the virtual PTA meetings. So as I said, it's not a one-size-fits-all for the schools. Different areas, different students have different needs.
So then what if you have an active PTA?
Yes.
Virtually. But given that it's in a hotspot or a border area, you can't have any school events.
Well, you'd have to take the school events outside of the particular area.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or if, for example, if it's about, let's say, raising funds, you can have simple things, well, not curry cues, for example. I'm just using, so the curry cue doesn't have to emanate or be, you don't have to go to something in your particular area. You can utilize, well, I don't want to call any entity
but
to
then,
promote them.
We should just take the school out of the area. I mean, think about it.
No, that's a whole...
No, because put it this way. We probably can't have these school events during the day for whatever reason. A hotspot at the border, but we having school classes during the day in that area.
Okay, yes, that's another debate. Should schools be allowed to continue in a hotspot? It's a catch-22 with that one because, in theory, with the budget supplementation, I don't know if EFCL contractors are going to get their money.
EFCL doesn't exist.
Right? But a lot of the money outstanding for work on education facilities hopefully will get paid. But that's the outstanding work. To what extent does the budget allow for the current required work?
It's not realistic to move schools out of hotspots. There are many large schools in various hotspots. We can't do that. We just have to work on improving the systems that are there to allow students to go to school and have an active PTA.
Not have hotspots or borders.
Here's the thing though, I think, again, to agree with Janelle, your point with regards to people sometimes don't know what's available to them. But then also, like, we underestimate it, but I'm sure in your everyday life, guys, you all would have been in a situation where you had a problem, you didn't know what to do about it, somebody came and gave you a very simple solution. It's like, why didn't I think about that? And you kind of underestimate, you know, sometimes people when they're stressed out, it's like, why don't I think about going and hosting events outside of the school? Like, what might seem simple to an outsider, because we are not emotionally invested and riled up over specific school in hotspots problems, right? For us, it's easy to just, oh, well, why did you try this or why did you try that? And of course, there might also be reasons why certain specific things can't work. But with your point, Keaton, I'll just like to say, yes, it's easy to complain, but I feel as though it's not that it's made it difficult to fix things. It's just that the avenues for complaints aren't really geared towards fixing things. They're just geared to complain. You could complain to the media, and to some extent, that is an avenue to try to fix things.
It's a good point you raised, but that wasn't the point I was making.
But at the end of the day, if all we have is to complain to media, and it's not affecting people to get into action, then, you know, the media could highlight everything and anything at once in an award-winning manner.
To a certain extent, you've contradicted yourself, because you yourself have said people are actually scared to try and even raise these issues for the sake of their livelihood, you know?
No, both could happen at the same time.
But Janelle and I actually agree on a lot of things. And I think one of the things that we do agree on is that in instances, charity does begin at home. So you might have an inactive PTA within the school. But you as a parent, what are you doing at home when your child is home, right? Teaching your child the right thing, discipline, instilling discipline. And people say, well, you have to instill discipline through fear. No, you don't have to instill discipline through fear. In fact, if anything, fear will lead to greater resentment.
I always say it depends on the child, to be honest. To me, I think you have to know your child and have to know what processes or what punishments or inducements would work on that particular child. It's not a one-size-fits-all.
It's true. My mom said I went through the terrible twos until I was 20. So, no, but
Oh, so you
realistically,
almost went through treble 20s as well.
Realistically, Janelle, I think that even if there is an inactive PTA, I think it also depends on what is happening within the home, and even a parent's interaction with their child that would also reflect off of the child's behavior in the school, in the classroom.
And that's the thing. Technically, PTA is Parent-Teacher Association. We haven't necessarily spoken much about the teachers. That has its whole other kettle of fish, right? But with regards to parents, parents don't necessarily need a PTA. That's what I ask. Does it have to be in a PTA? Part of it is involvement.
Parents don't need a PTA insofar as it speaks to the value system you inculcate in your child. But maybe I am limited in my view of what a PTA is, but I see them also very much involved in the fundraising. And we definitely need a PTA for that. The schools that I'm involved in, it's one school I'm particularly involved in. The PTA plays an active role in ensuring the maintenance of the school.
Yes, to a great degree, yes, that is the case. The other side of it as well is, and we don't have time to get into this particular debate or conversation, but do we want, just based off of sometimes what we've seen, because social media now is a news source for plenty of people, but just based off of what we've seen and what we've heard, and in some instances how parents react or even how parents get involved, there have been instances in parents getting involved in the fights. Do we want some of these parents to actually be involved if there was a PT? Well, that is another side of it.
That's another question, and it brings me to the appearance of a particular social media star in a school. My understanding was the Parent Teachers Association that invited that particular person that caused the furor because a large majority of the populace didn't think that she was an appropriate individual to give advice to students, but it was the parent teachers, I am understanding, who thought she was.
So that is a good example as to possibly why it is we may not want some of these parents to actually be involved in a PTA.